We'll see when it actually pops up.
There it is.
Whee! All right. Here we are. We are live. Yay. What if, gang, what if we talked about what if? Episode 3? What if we did that right now? I'm excited.
Okay.
All right.
I'm open.
Yeah.
Wait, Don, why do you keep pointing to your lap?
Because that's what's open.
What? No, okay. I have no idea what's going on.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That escalated quickly.
Well, no, I can never figure out what you guys are all seeing because Don, you'll point like up or to the left or whatever. I'm like, are you seeing a different configuration than I am?
I mean to point to the people who are being announced, but I always get the old style sign and that's it.
Just don't point.
I know.
We'll
especially
just
at
announce
open laps, right?
Well, we will just announce old style tonight. That's all we need.
Yeah. I got the corner spot.
Open laps are only for swimming pools. Move on.
Oh, I like that.
I like that.
That's a good joke. That's a good joke.
That is really good.
It's solid,
but
and clean. Good job.
Yeah, heaven forbid. So, all right. We are here tonight with Earth's Mightiest Critics assembled to talk about episode 3 of What If, which is basically what if the Avengers all died before they could really get assembled.
Diabetes is difficult. It's hard.
Okay. That would be amazing. It was Wilford Brimley that done it. He's working for Thanos. No, okay. So with us tonight is the Pointer. That's your new superhero name, Don Shanahan of 25YL and the Cinephile Hey Fit podcast. And every movie has a lesson. Yes. We have David Fowley of Keeping It Real. We have Annie Banks of Chuckload of Comics. And wow, is this a spoiler? Are we just announcing
that?
I didn't notice that.
Giant freaking robot and maybe
so many
CBR?
Maybe a CBR. We'll find out soon.
We'll see if they like that.
As of now, they like me. We'll see what happens.
She's like those Hollywood producers that have like 8 different letters after their name. You know,
She's in 8 associations. That's correct.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. You don't have to be jealous. It's fine. You'll get there someday.
It's not jealousy.
Well,
she said someday to the 4 old people in the room.
I know. Someday.
To my son over 40.
We kind of jumped over someday, and now we're just like today. Yeah.
Today.
Annie is doing us a favor by lowering our room average by like 8 years.
Just at least.
Just get used to a lot of. Just get used to a lot of vicarious living. Don, you're already green with envy. I can see it.
I am.
No. So for folks out there who are just joining us, and Mark, I'm going to introduce you in a second. I did not forget you. I just want to tie up this Annie Banks thing. I love you, Mark. We all do.
Just Gleek. Just call me Gleek.
Yikes. But so yes, there's some stuff going on with Annie's identification down there. Nothing that we want to jinx. So we're just going to wait for the next week or two and hopefully have some really cool things to announce, but I'll give a preemptive congratulations.
Thank you guys so much.
You are welcome. Thank you for joining us, hanging out.
I like Mark's new title.
Yeah, the M.
Mark
Man.
The M. Oovie Man.
Oovie Man.
It's spelled normally. I don't know why I put a space between the M and the O. So I'm like now
he's a spaceman.
Oovie Man. I sound like a villain from an Austin Powers movie. And here comes the Oovie Man.
Yeah. It's like a speech diagnosis. I have to make it work. Yeah. Good luck.
At some point they're going to make a 4th movie, so maybe you'll get hired on for the pun master role. But so Mark, welcome of the spoiler room frame and fame. Yes.
We're just dropping consonants like crazy tonight,
among other things. Yes. The spoiler room, absolutely.
And I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat, which is what everybody is, the person is watching right now. So for those watching either now or in the future, feel free to jump into the chat and we will answer your questions. We'll deal with your theories. We are going to talk about what if, and we're going to spoil the heck out of it. Now, because these are shorter episodes, usually like half-hour, animated shows, these are going to tend to be shorter live streams, particularly because I have a date tonight. Well, a podcasting date at about 9:45. Yes,
cheating on us.
We got a hard out.
Happily married. Yes.
Say that 5 times.
Right.
You sly dog. Anyway, folks will understand the context of that later. But so yeah, we're just going to jump right into it. We are going to talk spoilers. We're not going to hold anything back. And I'm going to nominate Annie to do the synopsis of episode 3.
So episode 3 takes us back to 2012, where we ask, what if the Avengers die? And there's like this kind of, I don't know if it's like a serum or a poison of some sort that's really interfering with each notable Avenger, while Agent Coulson is investigating the case of Thor landing on Earth. With Thor comes Loki and Mischief, and a villain that's not really expected, but it ends up being Hank Pym, right? It's Hank Pym at the very end.
It is Hank
that
Pym,
reveals that he's the one behind everything, and kind of twists that mentor figure as of what if he was the issue the entire time.
Yeah, and that it's weird because this is an episode that deals with a what if scenario that we don't even see. It's kind of revealed at the end in the supervillain monologuing dialogue, because it turns out that Hope, aka the would-be Wasp in this reality, was recruited by S.H.I.E.L.D. and apparently died on a mission, and that drove her father insane. Is that what I'm
he became Yellow Jacket. He
becomes Yellow Jacket.
That was cool.
I have not seen the original Ant-Man in a while. He designed the Yellow Jacket costume, or was that okay?
He designed it, but he designed like the basic premise of it, but then it got taken away from him and
like Corey Stoll.
Yeah.
Okay, because I didn't even put that together. Yeah. Corey Stoll, nice.
Here we go again.
But in the comics, I mean, Hank has a crazy trajectory. He's a good guy, bad guy, unstable, a wife abuser.
And I like how this played.
Goes to court, all the Avengers kick him out, the Avengers sue him, all this stuff. And he's been, Yellow Jacket, he's been Ant-Man, Giant Man, all sorts of characters. So it's good to see, kind of, it's nice to have the crotchety, Michael Douglas voice, doing the whole falling down type of thing. I'm the bad guy.
I'm pretty sure. Was this Douglas though, or was it a
Douglas
actor?
No, that was Douglas. You can definitely hear. You could hear it when he first talks. When he first talks, and then he was giving me totally falling down vibes. I love that movie.
Yeah, I remember him being announced, this show being announced, and saying that he had a part in this, and so it was kind of cool to see him come back.
Was his name in the opening credits?
That's why I was throwing
because I feel like that was something that they kind of hid from the audience for. But honestly, I think I would have appreciated it more if it had been the opening credits, because it was partially the fact that it made him into this raving, wild-eyed lunatic, and he had that kind of like yelling, as we're calling it, falling down voice. I'm like, this is like the worst Mad Magazine Michael Douglas I've seen in a long time. I like what they did with the character. I was convinced it wasn't him. I'm like, that's the thing.
Great impersonator here, yeah.
Right.
I love those animated wiry eyebrows he had.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. It's like,
Yeah, that really sold the insanity for sure. Yeah. But everything, that we've jumped right to the end. Not exactly the very end, which I do want to get to, because they kind of pulled the rug out from underneath what I thought was a really kind of a dark, like legitimate Twilight Zone ending, to give it a spark of hope, which I didn't quite appreciate. When I say hope, I'm not talking about Hope Van Dyne. No, it's not. I can't.
Are you sure?
He's not sure.
It's retroactive. It's one of those things. It was a pun after it left my lips, but before then, I was totally innocent of trying to make a joke.
That's what they all say.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, okay. So, what do we think of episode 3?
I admit it had me guessing. Because they did a great job of shrouding Michael Douglas in the credits. Didn't see it coming. Easily the best twist out of all these episodes we've had so far. I know it's only been 3, and I don't think I saw it coming. Man, I think most people pick it up in the library like, man, what's fighting her and pushing her around? But I truly didn't know. I was captivated. It was a good time.
The opposite.
You knew it coming?
Yeah.
Okay.
How did you figure it out, David?
Well,
that's what I
mean, especially the fact that Barton didn't he claims that he didn't, unleash the arrow. Well, if something happened and it's unseen, then it has to be something that you can't see, right? It's something very small. Okay, what would that be? I wonder.
It could be someone using
invisible.
Could be
Yeah.
ghost.
That's where I was at too.
Could be ghost.
Ghost,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it's just like, to me, it would make sense that, like, who would be after not just killing off? What would be the reason for killing off these? They're not even Avengers yet. They're candidates.
No, yeah.
Right.
They're candidates. So who would kill off these candidates, and why are they killing them off? It would be to get at Fury. Why would they be mad at Fury? And it just made sense after a while, like, especially the way Hulk died. I'm like, all right, that has to be a Pym thing, the way he blew up like that.
See, I still understand where you're getting. It makes sense, and you happen to be 100% correct. I just don't know how you were thinking along anything like these lines. I was mostly confused, or not confused, but lured in and fooled by the fact that they are going back to 2012. This is before they're getting the band together. So even though Hank Pym had been in this universe, he wasn't brought into the movies until much later. So I wasn't thinking of them pulling in like the later kind of Ant-Man portion of this universe into the Avengers. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad they did that. I mean, honestly, technically it's before 2012, because this really is taking place between Iron Man 2 and the first Thor. Because we got the whole donut with Tony Stark, and then the hammer landing.
Well, and they do the flashback with Stark having. They mentioned that he just took care of his demons, his inner demons, which
alcohol.
Well, not just alcohol, but
Mickey Rourke,
Mickey Rourke, yes.
It was kind of neat to see, even though it was only for a second, the flashback of the racing scene and with Whiplash and all that. So, Annie, what did you make of this one?
I wish I liked it more. I don't know if I absolutely fell in love with this concept. I think it lacked substance a little bit. I think there wasn't enough emotion behind the animation to match the voice acting.
Interesting.
Especially where there's a lot of intensity going on, and it looks very flat. It looks very two-dimensional.
That's fair.
I don't know if it's just an issue with the animation style. I thought it was a really interesting concept, saying what if all of these events happen and it's unexpected at the very end. I just couldn't buy into it this much. I'm a big Hawkeye fan. I really love Matt Fraction's Hawkeye run, so it was exciting to see Hawkeye come on back. But I just couldn't buy it, especially trying to single him out where he's usually lumped together, and he's, saying he didn't kill these people, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, I don't know if I buy, was that Jeremy Renner?
It was.
I don't know if I buy Jeremy Renner.
He seemed very bored.
He seems very bored. And I felt weird because I'm not matching the energy that's coming from this voice acting.
Yeah.
Sam Jackson seemed bored. Johansson seemed bored. Renner seemed bored.
That was not Scarlett Johansson doing the voice. That was somebody else.
Lake Bell for the win. She did.
Really?
It was pretty decent.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was staying corrected.
Well, but no, you're onto something there, because I did not like it. I like Lake Bell generally as a performer.
Yeah.
I don't know what she's done as far as voice acting, but
she was Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn.
Okay. I don't know that I don't think I've seen that.
Okay.
But it felt like someone trying to do what they think Scarlett Johansson does with Black Widow, which is to have the detached kind of cool, wry assassin.
Smoky voice.
Yeah.
Right. But Scarlett Johansson has so much personality that even when she's doing that kind of like boilerplate voice, there's something to it that you can't just say, okay, I'm going to do a voice like this. I think that because I kind of had a problem with that too. I just wish they had gotten ScarJo. I'm conspiracy minded. I'm wondering if she actually did record that, and then after all the lawsuit stuff happened, they're like, let's get someone else in here to record her dialogue.
That's a good question.
What if that was the case?
I like the fact that this is probably one of the first times they're acknowledging the Edward Norton Hulk. Because they're bringing Betsy Ross back in here, and that's kind of cool.
Put Mark Ruffalo in there, but
of course. Yeah. But the fact that her character is kind of back. I mean, with What If, nothing is really back in the MCU. Sure. It's all what ifs. But I like the idea of bringing her back. We're back on that campus that they had the showdown in the Incredible Hulk. So it's kind of cool. I mean, obviously, it's not Liv Tyler voicing her or anything like that, but it's nice to have that character back. I do like the idea of this whole kind of investigation, how it's all set up like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's kind of, it mixes it up. It's very different from the first 2 episodes, but it is probably my least favorite just because, like, after a while, I didn't really care that they killed off the candidates, you know. It just, to me, it just seemed like a whodunit that would eventually be solved, and it was more like and I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids, you know.
Yeah.
Did these episodes are always so short? Is this all, like, we've had this complaint about the first 2? Was it too packed and too packed? Too fast?
I think it was
losing
too
the substance
fast.
that Annie's talking about.
Yeah, Mark, you jump in because you haven't had a chance to really say something.
No, that's okay. You guys.
I can smell the DC coming off you. No,
Don't do it.
I'm like, this episode was written by a DC fan. No, I'm a big sucker for crime noir films, and I watched this. It's just like the other What Ifs. These are great concepts. This is like they must have pulled like stuff out of like off the idea board and said, hey, let's turn these into what ifs, because there's some interesting stuff here that I could see being a full hour episode. You turn it into actually a crime investigation thing. Now, granted, yeah, you come around to Pym, but what if it wasn't Pym? There's a lot of ways you could play this and shock fans of these characters by having these known villains. I mean, we've seen stuff like this in indie comics where you've got main superheroes, or usually ex-superheroes, kind of like, Watchmen. They're getting killed, and it's like, who's doing it, But I think it'd be interesting to take that concept, and that's why this one intrigued me in the beginning. I'm like, I love the idea of that concept, but with such well-known properties, because that's such a risk. And I'm like, cool, but halfway through this episode, I'm like, okay, I know where this is going, at least when Loki showed up, and then we get the final day where it's supposed to be the confrontation. I'm like, no, that's not Nick Fury. I'm like that, from minute 1, when the minute, a Yellow Jacket shows up, I'm like, okay, that's not Nick Fury. That's Loki, and it kind of takes your basic formula. But I like the idea, and I thought it would be interesting to explore like a little bit longer crime drama of, Coulson, especially befitting for it, doing kind of a noir investigation into who's killing all these superheroes. And it happens to be superheroes everybody actually knows for once, rather than indie superheroes where people are like, okay, they killed a Superman knockoff. That's, oh, well, or they killed, this knockoff character, but holy shit, they actually killed Thor, pardon my French, but it's like, yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think this would have worked, as I've maintained for the last, couple episodes. There need to be more to this. I think, Annie, you were picking up on a lack of kind of emotional investment, probably from yourself, and also, coming off of the characters. And I think that's partially because it's almost like a slasher movie. You introduce the dumb teenager, and then like 2 minutes later they're dead, and it's like, oh, we're on to the next, in the body count. But I think even just an hour-long episode, you could have gotten, something more from these characters that have such big personalities. Mark, I kind of disagree. I don't think Coulson would have been right for the investigation, because he would have been just too busy trying to get back to Asgard to find out what conditioner Thor used.
That's true. Yeah, yeah, that's true. But I mean,
that pretty hard.
But it would have been really cool to see a little more investigation and seeing the impact. A couple of those heroes, like Iron Man dying, people knew who Iron Man was at this point, and exploring that early. I mean, we get it, but he sacrificed himself with the snap. But it'd be interesting to see what the world in 2012 or before 2012, when Iron Man just revealed himself. Great, he's a superhero. Oh, he's dead already. Oh. Okay, well,
that's a great point, because that's a critique that I've had with the last couple of shows too, is that, and I understand it's a half hour, it's a superhero show, so you're going to focus on them, but they're still very insular. There's not a whole lot of how do these events affect the outside world. You had it with Captain Carter. She was never really given that platform that Steve Rogers was. you had it with well, I mean, T'Challa, there was kind of like the opposite problem. Everybody knew who he was and they all loved him. It was kind of boring. But with this, you're right. It would have been cool to see, you know, how does the death of Tony Stark affect, you know, everything, because that news would have gotten out. You know, even if it's truncated down to a week, I think. Well, it's
and you've got Ross involved as well. You could easily play the angle of the government moving in, going, even trying to shut Fury down further, going, just superhero just got killed. You want these guys? You think these guys are going to defend us? And these guys just got killed by possibly one of your other candidates. It's like, you know. I think that would have been intriguing, but this is comic. This is a cartoon. I think it's supposed to appeal not to young kids because it gets pretty dark. Hulk blowing up, for crying out loud, is going to cause some tears for someone under the age of 12. But this is definitely made for your mid-teenagers who like cartoons and that, the preteens type of audience. So I guess you can't get too heavy or have it too long. But us as fans and who like meaty stories, it's buggy because I'm seeing every one of these episodes going, man, there's so much you could do with it.
True. With the Hulk, I was hoping just one cutaway, because you see him explode ostensibly all over the military. I wanted just one shot of people stumbling around in the giant gooey green remnants, but we don't even get that. Like, is that too much to ask?
Hulk. No, it's not too much to ask.
No. Something you said earlier intrigued me. The animation, you said it came across as kind of flat. Now that's been, I hate using this phrase, and everyone feel free to take a shot, but this has been my critique for the last 2 episodes, as I don't like the animation. What is it that you picked? Is it because you weren't engaged with the story that you're now kind of noticing it, or did you feel like there was something that was different about this episode than what we've seen before?
I think that just because these past characters have been very expressive, you know, where you see these emotions, and it's very Pixar-like animation, where, you know, you have the oversized eyes and the very exaggerated movements in the face, and, you know, very, I don't want to say animated animation, but very lively animation. And you feel that liveliness. With this, it just felt very stoic. It felt like there was no life behind these characters that have, like you said earlier, have such big personalities. It felt very out of character, and, you know, just there was no movement besides the movement of the mouth.
And not even good movement in that either.
It was good. There was no good. Like, you know, you have Loki, and you have Loki using his mischief, and all of these Lokis have the same expression, and his eyebrows aren't even like his brows furrow, but there's no crease on his forehead or anything. And he's, you know, doing all of these cool same tricks that he did in the first Avengers. And you're like, that would be super cool if you could actually see the insanity behind his expression, or if you could, you know, really feel some life. Like, even they're examining dead bodies and they're like, "Oh, this is not good." I was like, "Do you care?" You know?
They're real
supposed to get into this story if I feel like I'm rewatching every episode of SVU, when then they all talk to him and they're like, "Whoa, this guy sure is dead," and I'm like, I get it, you know. But even they looked lifelessness. There was a lot of lifelessness.
If you compare it to even the first episode, the animation has changed. You're absolutely right, Annie. And I don't know if it's maybe they're trying to they replicated too many actual scenes that we've seen before in the live action, that it kind of took away from it as well. But it is flatter. I mean, the Agent Carter stuff, at least the animation, it had depth. It had more shadows to it. There was some volume to the animated characters.
There was no volume. You're absolutely right. That's what I was looking for. There is no volume.
No, there is. Whereas, I mean, you get that shot in the first episode with Peggy Carter just fighting, and it's just wonderful. And the lights of the car, and you know, you could, everything seems a little bit 3D-ish, but not too much. And you're right. This one really was a lot flatter. Like, oh, we got to finish this series, and then it just keeps.
Except for Hank's eyebrows.
Except for Hank. Yes.
All the depth of the world. Right.
Yes.
All the depth to the eyebrows.
I think the only good scene in this one where it felt with some depth is the truck fight, where at least there's some hits and perspective coming in and out. But the rest not so much.
Well, I mean, even when you had the army of Lokis, they were flat. I mean, it was like You know, it.
Yeah.
This isn't a slam. It's just an artistic choice. It felt more slightly anime style, like older anime though, to where they
Like
do like a
90s
matte
anime?
painting.
Yeah.
Like they do a matte painting of the scene and only a couple characters are actually animated. You know, everybody else is just kind of a static painting. It almost felt like that with this. And I'm like, you're freaking Disney and Marvel. Okay. You step outside and you make money. You couldn't have put maybe a little bit more into the animation. I mean, even Disney's not Pixar films look so much better. Even their shorts. I mean, they look fantastic. And I'm like, why couldn't you do that here? I understand you're maybe going for the comic book look, but even that, I'm like, you've got a chance to do some decent animated Marvel stuff. And it's like, I'm sorry, it's not just the DC fan in me, but DC still edges above in the animated department when it comes to
Yes, they do.
When it comes to either the animated movies or shows. They just edge. It's like Warner Brothers knows that. Why they can't replicate that type of formula in live action, I will never know.
I know.
But I love the animated stuff, and I'm just like, do that. You know, it's like.
Let me ask this, because this comes up has come up on the previous shows about the DC animated stuff. I've seen, very little of it. I want to say maybe even just. Okay, I've seen The Killing Joke, which we have agreed is, we're not going to talk about that. Yeah,
And
I own the Blu-ray only because it's like a steelbook thing that has a really cool replica of the Brian Boland cover. That's nice to have. Right, but and I think David, you and I saw the Harley Quinn movie that they did a few years ago, and that was a lot of fun. But my recollection of it is it still looks like traditional 2D animation. Have you seen DC animated stuff that looks like what we're seeing in What If?
No,
that style.
They keep it a little bit more flatter, but they just give more character to the stuff, and it's
way
the
better
story.
Voice actors too.
Yeah, the voice acting is
really good people,
fantastic in it. So even though you don't maybe have like the 3D animation type stuff, the stuff they do, like Gotham by Gaslight, I love the artwork in Gotham by Gaslight. Yeah, it's not as 3D as what you're seeing here, but at the same time, it's so much more artistic and character to it, to where every single one of these episodes, they're a little bit, most of the time, and I feel bad for saying this, they're a little too close to the characters and not giving you more environment. I mean, we might get one establishing scene, but then we're really close to the animated characters all the time and not so much to the environment, whereas DC does a great balance of both. You get great close-ups of the characters, but you get medium and a lot of wide shots and stuff of the environment they're in. And I think that's missing as well with this.
Yeah, I think, and that's been my criticism from the beginning, is this idea that it looks like it's 3D with 2D, kind of shading and texturing on it. I would like to see this series in more of a traditional 2D animated style. And I think my issue with it is I love Pixar stuff. I also love 2D animation. I'm not so much a fan of that weird valley where they try and mix the two because it doesn't really quite work. I do want to jump to that ending. Which I thought was a really nice twist, but I do have a question, and this goes back to you all being much more familiar with the Marvel lore, Mark accepted. But was he always an agent of Thanos, or did that happen afterward? Because I know he was after the Tesseract and all of that. I thought that they were a league earlier on.
As far as comics and stuff?
No, in the movies, the MCU.
I don't, because he was choked out by Thanos in Infinity War. That wouldn't make sense.
Well, I know, but I thought they were working together, because I know that was one of the things about Loki, was when he saw Thanos choking him out, he felt kind of betrayed, right?
Well, I mean, the way Loki works is that it's like, I don't think he ever really is, subjected or hogtied to somebody. He may have been working with I guess Thanos in order to get where he could basically take over New York and hopefully the world. using the Centauri army and everything like that.
Yes, yeah.
But I think with him, it was never, now I am reporting to Thanos or something, and,
but I guess that was my what I'm getting at more is, did Thanos have an expectation that Loki was working for him, or to perform a job to facilitate him getting all the Infinity Stones?
Or is that where Loki hiring the Chitauri kind of gets him in bed with Thanos? Like, is that the step?
That's what I'm trying to get at, because
I
at the
before
end,
that
when Loki,
because he brings in Asgardian warriors. Like,
I
there's
think
no
it was-
Chitauri in this one.
think
This
it might
is
have
my
been like,
brother's dead. I'm bringing Asgard to you.
it might have been like a power play on Loki's part, like just like, hey, this is what I could do.
Yeah.
Or Loki may also
I guess
have,
what I'm
I
getting
don't-
at is, at the end.
No, I was
No,
just
go
going
ahead.
to say, I don't even remember Loki even really. Did he even bring up Thanos in the first Avenger? He didn't. He just
No.
brought up the Chitauri. So I
He
mean,
had the Tesseract and the Jatari. That was it.
right.
That was his entire
So-
arc.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know
But the
Loki's
Tesseract
in.
had one of the Infinity Stones, which
Right.
Thanos needed in order to complete the gauntlet. I
Right.
guess that's where I'm getting my confused. But because at the end, when Loki takes over the planet, I'm just guessing or wondering what the next step is. Is like, are we, he's going to rule for like 2 weeks until Thanos shows up and says, "I want that gem."
And I always got the impression that Loki may not have exactly been aware just how involved Thanos may have been with the Chitauri. I think he's pairing up with the Chitauri. He knows Thanos is around and he's dealt with him, but he's so focused on himself and his own goal that he may very well not have thought of working with Thanos. He's just hiring these guys to help him take over Earth. And Thanos, I'm so small, Thanos is not even probably going to even deal with me, and then maybe later on use the Tesseract as to make a deal with Thanos once he's gained control of the planet. Because,
But
Yeah.
this is still pre-Tesseract too, because
right.
this isn't. He brings the ice block thing from Jotunheim here,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like, and he brings Asgard, not Chitauri. So I don't even think Thanos is in play, because we don't have a reappeared Tesseract out of the briefcase yet at the end of Thor 2. Like, we're not there yet either.
Okay.
So
Right.
Yeah, this is
this is
phase
all
one-
Asgard taking over Midgard. That's all this is.
Phase 1 Marvel, I think, and part of Phase 2 is like my least seen of these movies. I'm much more familiar with the later ones. So that's why I'm thankful for you guys helping me untangle this continuity. But yeah, I did like, and this is what I was alluding to in the beginning. I like the idea that all the Avengers are dead. They figure out, who done it, and evil is punished. But then Nick Fury is talking to Loki like, "Yeah, thanks for the help. See ya." And Loki's like, "No, I think I'm going to stay." And Fury says, "For how long?" Cut to Friday or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the entire
goes to-
planet's been taken over.
I've taken over. He does the Superman 4 moment in the
The
United
UN.
Nations. Yeah.
Cut to black. That's
Black.
all I want. And then the
know.
Watchers giving some kind of a you know what, kids,
Yeah,
not all of these are
imagine
going to
it.
have happy endings.
right.
But then you have to have this stinger where this is again the logic portion of it. If Loki and this army is taken over the planet, the first thing you do is neutralize the threat. If he understands that Nick Fury, what he is and who he's connected to, that he might eventually rise up and become a threat to his reign, he's not going to allow him to go and have a funeral for the Avengers or be sneaking around the Arctic ice lab or whatever. They've got Cap's shield and all that stuff. He's just got a little bit too much free reign. And I understand this is the last 2 minutes of the episode, but it brings up more questions than I think the show even cared to think about answering. So I'm like, just cut it off early and have it be a nice dark little Twilight Zone ending.
Yeah.
Well, we're 3 episodes in, and I'm just wondering if there are rumors that some of these storylines will be revisited in future episodes. So I just wonder when that will actually happen. If it's going to be this season or season 2.
You're all in the dark now, though. The first 3 are
Yeah,
Well,
now
yeah.
we're going in clean.
You're going
I
in clean.
made the mistake, and I know IMDb lies, but I did make a mistake of looking the casting call, and there's one particular character who shows up in at least 4 episodes according to IMDb. One of them's they've already shown up in, and they're going to be in 3 more as
Howard-
that what if character.
Howard the Duck.
No, I wish. I
right?
wish.
My guess
I
is
w-
Thanos and Josh Brolin.
No, actually, it's. Do you want to know?
You could
The spoiler
It's
thing's
just
on.
spoilers.
By the way.
according
Cover
to
your
the,
ears, Don.
according to the list, the only people outside of the Watcher that's listed in like more than 2 episodes is Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
He's listed as 4 episodes as Star-Lord, T'Challa as Star-Lord in 4 episodes. And the way they're listing these is once they're broadcast, they're giving them the actual title. Otherwise, they just have the episode number. So we don't know if it's going to be brief or if it's going to be more. But according to this, the story, he's going to be in at least 4 of these stories as T'Challa as Star-Lord. Whereas a lot of the other people are 1 or 2 episode offs. Or they've done both their episodes already. So it's interesting to see where they're going to go with it. What is this supposed to be, like 10 episodes or 9 episodes?
I think 10. And that is an interesting possibility because Chadwick Boseman showing up again as Star-Lord, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a continuation of episode 2. It could be another variation. Like imagine if Chadwick Boseman as Star-Lord ended up with the personality of Peter Quill in an alternate reality.
What
That
if
would be
we
cool.
saw Chadwick Boseman as Star-Lord in a Dairy Queen After Dark?
Here you go. There you go.
But some other different continuity that led to he and Nebula crossing paths or something. Because I really or I'm sorry, not Nebula, Gamora, because I missed her in that, and I understand she wasn't part of the Ravagers yet, but I missed that Guardians dynamic of that original or the team that they became in that Chadwick Boseman episode. It'd be cool to see if somehow the Guardians of the Galaxy with T'Challa at the helm, kind of if we saw that later, and who knows, we might.
Could be.
But anyway,
Right, get your heart out, man. 9:45.
Yes. Well, yeah, we are going to run in just a couple of minutes, but I want to give some room for wrap up. Any final thoughts on what is episode 3? It's an ironic situation because I have not been a fan of this series until now. This wasn't.
Really? This
Yeah,
is the
I
episode
know.
that did it for you? This is the
No.
one.
No.
This is the one.
This is the. This
I
is the
gotta
episode.
go, guys.
We lost Danny.
That campus life.
Yeah,
So
right.
Campus
No.
life, yeah.
This is the episode where I said, I'm not going to cancel our weekly live streams.
Were you
kept me
threatening
just-
in your head to
When
cancel
culture
it?
strikes
Yeah,
again.
yeah. It kept me just
Guys,
interested
I'm-
enough that I'm like, I love all of you guys. I love hanging out, but myself, I'm like, I don't know if I can watch 7 more of these lame ass cartoons. This one, I was
Oh,
like,
man.
I'm interested because I like
Okay.
that twist, even though I didn't like what they did at the very end. So yeah, I'm looking forward to coming back. But
Well,
yeah.
All I'm gonna say, if the Doctor Strange one sucks this bad, I will not show up again.
You will.
I will.
You
I will
will.
show up again. I'm gonna be pissed. Like I'm
She's
just gonna sit here
A
and scream
career-ending
for
match right
25
there.
minutes.
Okay.
I will give the show a pass. This is its past. It is on its first and only warning. I'm gonna be like Don as a teacher. This is your first and only warning.
it.
Wow.
I don't know. I've never seen him teach before, but like that's what it goes through my head. When I think about elementary
That's pretty
school.
accurate.
One warning.
This is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write a note home.
Say
I'm gonna
hypotenuse
tell this-
again. One more goddamn time. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, Annie, I'm hoping for all of us then that they get better than episode 3. Now,
It's
yeah,
gonna get better than this. I swear. If this is the bottom of the barrel. Okay.
Well, and that's the thing is, I think conceptually this is I think this had the most potential of the other stories, or at least the most exploration of the potential, because it wasn't just kind of like swapping out a character. Like, what if this character was this character? It was, you know, a bona fide kind of mystery playing around with the storylines. Not to say that they can't, you know, do wonderful things with character swaps in the future. This is just the one that are like, yeah, I'm kind of vibing with this now. I'm not overly enthusiastic, but I'm very curious, especially now that I have no idea what is in store. I don't have any of you to be like, okay, what's the plot of episode 2 or 3? Because some of us got much earlier access than others.
Well, IMDb is listing the question for episode 5, and that is, what if Thor landed on Midgard and still was found worthy?
Ooh.
Is this party
That
Thor?
movie gets a whole lot shorter then. No
No
wonder it's 30 minutes.
Where his hairline is to his eyebrows?
Ooh, are we get the blonde back? That'd be great.
I like
Or
party
are we just
Thor,
going to
that's
fawn
great.
all over him again like we did this episode? Come on.
You never know.
What's number 4's question, David?
We don't know. I know it has to do with Doctor Strange, like Annie said, but I don't know.
It better
Okay,
be.
okay.
It better be.
All right. Well, we'll definitely find out next week, and we'll be back next week. And in 2 weeks, we're going to be doing our special dual live stream Wednesday. Where we're going to talk about that episode 5, with Thor being an Earthling, and a worthy Earthling, I guess, and then Shang-CHI, which I think I may have finally pronounced correctly. We're going to be talking about that. So that's September 8th, starting at 8:30. Yeah, Shang-CHI. Yeah, got to keep the Chicago.
2 tickets to Shang-Chi, please.
Hey.
These are the Shang cheap seats. Anyway. All right. Anyway, that's going to do it for us for tonight. Thank you all so much again for hanging out. I am, as always, Ian Simmons. We have David Fowley of Keeping It Real, Don Shanahan of Everything, Mark the Movie Man Krawcheck of Special Mark Productions and the Spoiler Room, Annie Banks of Chuckload of Comics, and Projects to Be Determined. So, definitely stay tuned for that.
There you go.
All of you lovely folks out there, thank you for tuning in, commenting. If you have anything to say, leave it in the comments. We'll talk about it next week. And David, you got one last thing.
We did have one commenter, and that was the not departed, but dearly absent Mike Crowley.
Yes.
Oh,
Mike died?
No, he didn't.
No, he did
Why
die.
did Mark
I corrected myself.
Oh, man.
Which he and I did do a bonus episode for the podcast of on Free Guy. So that was interesting.
That's a good show.
nice. I got to check that out. I will have
thank
everybody's
you,
information down below. Also, sorry, Mike. My cursor in StreamYard was over the comment section, which grays out the topmost comment, so it didn't look like there was anything there. So now I'm seeing it. You sent this in like 15 minutes ago. I'm a terrible host. Anyway,
Probably
thank you guys. Yeah, he might be. I will dry your tears with my love. That's a country song I'm writing. Anyway, thank you everybody. You've been Earth's Mightiest Critics. This has been What If We Talked About What If, and now I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to try and do this professionally.